April is usually a really good month for music, and this year's April was absolutely no exception. And yeah, we're just going to get right to it. This is the music of the month of April of 2020. As always, this isn't going to be as heavily edited. Well, I've gotten more into editing, so it might be. I don't know, you'll find out when the video is posted. We have about 20 odd albums to go over, and as always, it's in alphabetical order, judging by the band's name. We start with All Time Low with Wake Up Sunshine. This one gets an A minus from me. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I thought, from the first couple of songs, I thought, yeah, we're getting some good ones, but we don't know if the rest of the album is going to sound like that, and it did. And in my opinion, this is their best work since Don't Panic. Like, their last two albums were alright. They were good, but they just weren't like to this standard. I'm really glad they reached this standard again. My only primary issue with it is that it can be a bit long at points, but you know what? I definitely feel like the band have come back around in a big way. I feel like this is definitely, the step that they should have taken after Don't Panic. Next is August Burns Red with Guardians, and before I actually give the album's grade, I want you to know that, usually I'm a positive guy when it comes to these, and this album is no exception. You're going to expect a lot of A-ish rankings, and this one also gets an A. I mean, it's August Burns Red. They're one of the best metalcore bands that we have, like, in the modern era. They've been redefining the genre. And once again, like, it's nothing new for them to just be really good at what they do. And Guardians is another example of them being really good at what they do. Like, they've been killing it for a long time now. You could argue that Divisions was the album that made them, and they've, like, elevated on that, in my opinion. But yeah, absolutely, really, really enjoyed Guardians. Thought, it's deserving of its A. Just really heavy, really good showcase of what the band's capable of. Yeah, just good shit. Really good shit. Next is the Black Dahlia Murder with Verminous. This is my second album by them, and I really loved Nightbringers, and to me it was going to be very, very difficult for them to top that, but they absolutely did. Verminous gets an A+. I'm not even joking. I fucking love this. This is just really good death metal, and it tackles darker lyrical themes than the band usually do. And it's almost got a concept to it. So there's storytelling, it's extremely heavy, it's got really good guitar work, really good like drum riffs and stuff like that, really good vocal performance. There isn't really a lot of good I can say about Verminous. Also, the cover is just fucking sweet. I don't typically like the colour green, but there's something about the type of green that they use on the cover just really good. Really good, so yeah, pick it up, honestly. Next is Childish Gambino with 15320. I know it's technically 31520, but we do things the right way in the UK. Day, month, year. Get it right, America. Anyway, that's my first Childish Gambino album, and apparently it could be his last one, but he said that about his album before this, so I don't think it will be his last one, and I'm hoping it's not, because I thought this was really enjoyable. Gets a B+. Once again, like with All Time Low's new album, it was a bit long at points, and there were some themes that didn't fully connect with me, but I mean, Donald Glover he's just really good at what he does. Like on the production end, on the songwriting end, he was absolutely fantastic, but I don't know, I expected a bit more rapping, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's a stereotype thing that I'm expecting. That could very well just be the case. But yeah, I really liked this one, so definitely worth a pickup from one of rap's best raw tours in the modern era. Next is Dance Gavin Dance with Afterburner. This is my second Dance Gavin Dance album after Artificial Selection, I think it was, that came out in 2018. And just your typical really good Dance Gavin Dance fare, gets an A. Just really enjoyable. The only things barring it from an A+ are sort of the typical problems that the band has, which is sometimes the lyrics are a bit dumb. They kind of are. They're kind of silly. I know they try to be abstract, but it just sounds a bit silly to me. And some of the songs like end a bit too quickly, or they like sort of drag on and then just wind up ending at a weird point. I don't know how to describe it, but for what we get, I think it's really good. Next is Devil's Skin with Red. I'm passingly familiar with Devil's Skin. I've heard a couple of the songs before this album came out, obviously. And although it was okay, it gets a B-. To me, it wasn't really a lot new tried. I expected a bit more heavy from them. They do have a lot of charisma and a lot of potential, and their lead singer, she's really good. But in my opinion, she tried a bit too much on this album to sound like the next Lizzie Hale. I don't want it to sound like Lizzie Hale, I want it to sound like herself, you know? And I feel like that's what the band needs to focus on. I think they need to... I think there's a bit of a lack of identity with this album is the main issue I have with it, but if it's just... At the end of the day, it is still a pretty solid rock record, so yeah, just, you know, really good hard rock for the modern era. Really good female-fronted hard rock at that, so yeah, for what we get, it's alright. Next is probably one of the albums people have wanted me to talk about. Well, I say people, I don't have fans. That that I've wanted to talk about for... I think people have been expecting to be heard of. How do I put this correctly? It's Enter Shikari with Nothing Is True and Everything Is Possible, Not Permitted. They didn't completely steal it from Assassin's Creed. But anyway, yeah, it gets a B+. For my first Enter Shikari album in full, I thought it was a really good gateway for me. They're a band I always had trouble getting into, but now that I'm into like a lot more weirder genres of music nowadays, I felt like it was a perfect time, and I completely missed their last two albums, which were highly acclaimed. So I thought I'll listen to this one, and you know what? Even though I wouldn't give it a super acclaim, which is why it gets a B+, I still thought it was pretty enjoyable. You know, it's the band's experimenting quite a lot. It is a bit of a long in the tooth album, but the band are just really damn good at what they do, so can't fault it. So yeah, gets a B+. Next is Hot Mulligan with You'll Be Fine. I think this is the band's second album, so I'm catching them fairly early. And how to describe Hot Mulligan? It's like Tiny Moving Parts, but a little bit heavier. And it gets an A+. Honestly, I really enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. Just this really enjoyable weird mix of pop punk and indie rock and like mathcore stuff, and yeah, just surprisingly heavy, really well thought out. This one came out in March. It's one of the couple of albums that came out back in March, the other one being Childish Gambino's one. I keep forgetting to do those in, you know, in these episodes, like I mentioned, when they came out. But yeah, I thought You'll Be Fine was more than just a fine album. I thought it was really good. It gets an A+. It's definitely one I should go back to a bit more to justify the ranking I've given it, but I just thought it was really enjoyable, just really likeable. It came off as really, you know, just really, like, positive at the end of the day, even though with its themes, you know, there you go. And speaking of slightly dark-themed albums, and speaking of the word dark, we have Little Darky with This Does Not Exist. This one came out in January. This is also a rap album, and it gets an A. I was really intrigued by the style. I think this is only his second album as well, and it didn't come out too long after his first, from what I understand, so, you know, the dude's, like, put in a lot of hard work for, like, such a young career. I think he blew up, came into more prominence near the end of 2018, so he is still pretty fresh. And I absolutely love this. I just thought it was, like, that sort of... It gave me good vibes of classic Slim Shady, you know? Like, when Eminem could get away with playing that character. Like, Little Darky feels like a bit of a tribute to that, but in a more, like, psychotic, demented way, and I absolutely loved it. The dude sounds like he was having fun. He pretty much killed every bar he landed. I don't know why I'm not giving it an A+. I guess, I don't know, I just wanted a bit more of it, basically. You know, I mean, it's a really good thing, and this is a good thing that I wanted more of, but once again, what we got absolutely deserves it and earns its A, in my opinion. Really enjoyed this. Next up is an album I'm not sure should have such a high ranking, but it's an album I quite enjoyed. Madison with Keep On Breathing. This one came in on my birthday, so it does get a couple of bonus points for that. It gets an A-. I thought this was just... for someone who's been listening to Madison for a while, but had never listened to a full album of theirs and had been waiting for a while, gotta move that. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really good, like, full proper gateway for me. I thought the bands were really great. They've got this, like, classic hard rock likability to them, but mixed with enough modern sensibilities as well. And yeah, just really catchy songwriting too. Really catchy songwriting. So yeah, A- I think is the fairest grade for it. Next is one that completely fucking blindsided me in the best way. Milk Teeth with their self-titled second album, A+. This one came out in March, and oh my god, I'm sort of mad I missed this one for March. I don't even remember if I was putting it away to listen to it in April, because I've started doing that. I've started putting away albums to listen to in a different month, so that way I have more to talk about. But fuck, this one was like this one was sort of like a female-fronted pup with morbid stuff last year. You know, it gave that sort of vibe, and I loved morbid stuff. It was one of my favorite albums of 2019. Milk Teeth is definitely one of my favorite albums of 2020. I thought this was fucking brilliantly handled, produced so raw, so passionately, performed passionately as well. Really well written, really well put together. I absolutely fucking love this. I think this might be maybe my favorite album of the month, or at least one of them. So, yeah, A plus is the best grade I can give it. Next is Nightwish with Human Nature. Lowest grade of the month. Bizarrely, it's a C minus. There's a variety of reasons. I'll go over the good first. First of all, it's sort of what you would expect from Nightwish, I guess. And they're still pretty good at what they do, but the thing is, it's also really not well produced, and it's a double album. The first part is like actual songs, the second part is just all instrumental, and I feel like it didn't really need to be that long. Yeah, it's just way too long, really way too overproduced. You don't really get to hear the band a lot, but the band do sound good when you do get to hear them, which is what stops it from getting into the D's or E's or F's. So yeah, C minus. You know, it's passable. I wouldn't listen to it more than once in a row, basically. Next is probably one of the more important albums of the year, I think. Pearl Jam with Gigaton, my first full Pearl Jam album. I know who the band are by reputation. This one obviously also came out in March, and I was a bit hesitant to listen to it. I think this is one of the ones I was putting aside to listen to for in April. And yeah, I thought this was actually pretty surprisingly enjoyable. It gets a B. I liked it. It does sort of drag on a little bit, but the band, like, they've been known to experiment, and they do that a lot on this album. They just have this damn near untouchable sort of charm to them, you know, sort of this, like, I know I've said it before, but like this sort of charisma to them. Like, they can get away with this kind of stuff, and they've been getting away with this kind of stuff for a really long time now. Even though it was my first Pearl Jam album, once again, I do know what the band's deal is, and I think it's a pretty good deal. I think my only issues would be the fact that I haven't really listened to a lot of to any full Pearl Jam album before this to really compare it to. I've only heard a couple of songs, most notably Jeremy. You know, everyone knows Jeremy. But yeah, even though I'm not super duper familiar, for what Pearl Jam are capable of, I think a B is a pretty fair grade, honestly. Well, yeah, just in my opinion. Next is probably one of the best examples of restoring your credibility. Red with Declaration, A+. Where the hell were they hiding all of this? You know, I mean, let's go back over a few albums. So that was 2011's Until We Have Faces, which was my first full album by them. Really loved it. I think it was one of my top 10 of the year, or round that area. 2013 had Release the Panic, which was crap. 2015 had Of Beauty and Rage, which was pretty decent actually. 2017 had Gone, which was boring. And they took time off, they formed their own record label, and then they released Declaration. And yeah, this is the best parts of Red turned all the way up. I think this is some of the best work they've ever done. It's some of their best work since maybe their first couple of albums. I really, really enjoy this. It's just super heavy. It's got a lot of like crunch and a lot of punch to it, and I'm just making up words. But yeah, I thought this was, like, honestly just really, really enjoyable. Really, it made you feel something, you know. And I haven't felt something from a Red album in a long time, so yeah, I think that's the style they were going for. Like, the symphonic elements were absolutely beautiful. This album was put together really well. The band performed it brilliantly. They produced it brilliantly as well. I think it was them. It might have been someone else, but it was on their label, so it's safe to assume that they had a bit more creative control of it, which is probably what they let their last few albums down a little bit, but that's just me. But yeah, absolutely A+, A+. Next is Rotting Out with Ronin. This is the band's first album since, I don't remember what their last album was. It's my first album by them. I know it's their first album since their lead singer Walter Delgado got out of prison for possession of marijuana. And it gets a B. Pretty solid hardcore punk sort of stuff. I didn't fully know what to expect from Rotting Out. The only reason I know about them is because their lead singer was on a Stick to Your Guns song. But yeah, I thought this was pretty solid. Some of the it's that typical thing with hardcore punk that I don't like, in that some of the songs are just short and heavy for the sake of being short and heavy. Like, they feel just like an elongated breakdown, and this album can feel like that in stretches, but it does have a message to it. It's got a decent structure despite its short length, and the band know what they're doing, so yeah. I think a B is pretty solid, pretty standard, pretty good. Next is Screeching Weasel with Some Freaks of Atavism. This one also came out in March. And this one was a sort of a bit of a late one for me. I heard about it a bit later in the month of April. And I was mostly intrigued by it due to the fact that the cover was taken from A Clockwork Orange, one of the most iconic movie posters slash covers of all time, and he gets a B+. This was like a really good, enjoyable sort of classic style of punk rock. These are a band that have actually been around for a really long time, which surprised me. I think this is their 14th or 15th album, might be a bit longer than that. But yeah, it was super enjoyable, extremely catchy, really, really fun. And I think the only reason it doesn't go into the A rankings is because it is a bit long, and because it's got that classic style, it does have some of the, some of the lyrics are a bit stereotypical at the time, but what we have, it's enjoyable, it's catchy, it'll get surprisingly stuck in your head, because that's what happened to me, so yeah, B+. Next is surprisingly the last A+ of the month. Sin Shake Sin with The Mess We've Made. This is their second album, their first since 2014's, what was it called? Lunatics and Slaves, I think it was called. And it was my first full Sin Shake Sin album. These are a band who I sort of caught by accident, in a way. A few years ago, I caught Can't Go to Hell, which is probably the most recognisable song. And I just remember thinking, and I liked that song because the lyric video had like pieces of work from an artist whose name I don't remember, but he's a Polish artist who does really good like political, like poster cartoon satire things, and they're really, really good. You should definitely check them out. But yeah, I thought The Mess We've Made, it gets an A+. Like, it's basically more of what you might know about the band, but taken up to really great heights. It's just the band like saying what they're really passionate about, which is trying to fix the world, trying to pull our heads out of our asses. And I just thought it was really good. It's got so much like balls to it, so much balls, so much of the charisma and such. But yeah. And yeah, the lead singer, Stacey Hogan, he absolutely does a great job. And on the guitar as well, he's fucking mean. He's got some really good solos. The entire, even though it is him doing all of the instruments, the entire band is still pretty good. So yeah, I thought this was good shit. Gets an A+, absolutely. Next is sort of an odd one. I think this is the only album I listened to twice in April, mostly because I wasn't fully sure about it at first. It's Trivium with What the Dead Men Say, and I give it an A-. Now, I don't know what it is. Like, I've heard of Trivium before, and back in the day when a friend of mine was showing them to me, I wasn't as into them. I feel like that there's a little bit of that like still lingering in me. I don't know. I'm a fucking idiot, because Trivium are great, and the themes of this album really are great, and everything about it is great. But I wish I could remember a tiny bit more of it. Like, that makes me sound like such a dick, because I did enjoy this album. Otherwise, it wouldn't get an A-. But there's just something holding it back from getting an A or an A+, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's not that it's terribly long. I mean, it does end on a fade out, which always detracts points from anything, because I think fade outs are stupid and lazy. But yeah, it's produced well, the band all sound great, so why am I not liking it more? I mean, I tried to figure that out after the first time I listened to it. I thought, I'll listen to it again and see if that changes, and yeah, no, it's still, I mean, it's an A-, so it's far from like the worst grade, but there's just something. I can't put my finger on it, and it bugs the hell out of me. Next is The Used with Heartwork. This is their first album since 2017's The Canyon, which was a surprisingly awesome album. And Heartwork, not as surprisingly awesome, but still good, still really good. It gets a B+. I feel like this album sort of has some of the same problems that Afterburner does, The Afterburner does by Dance Gavin Dance, with like some of the songs just ending in a weird way and ending a bit prematurely. But it's the used doing what they're really good at, really good emo stuff. New experimentation with popular elements, which does work a bit, but I really wanted a bit more heaviness, because that's what we got from Blow Me, the first, like, sort of single on the album. Yes, that is the name of the single. I'm not commanding you to actually do anything. Anyway, yeah, who am I, Sam Pepper? Zing. Anyway, yeah, it gets a B+. I just thought, like, there are parts of it that are a bit long, and some of the songs just have a bit of a weird ending, but what we get, once again, really enjoyable, and, it's the band trying more new stuff, like they did on The Canyon. They tried a lot of new stuff and it worked. They tried a lot of new stuff here too. Some of it worked, not all of it, but when it did, it worked really well. So, yeah, B+. And lastly, for the month of April, we have Vermicide Violence with the Praxis of Prophylaxis. Vermicide Violence are a parody group or parody project by Jared Alonji, who, in case you didn't know, is actually also a really good guitarist for the band Crazy 88. If you ever listened to them, check them out. But he's mostly known for his comedy and parody stuff, and Vermicide Violence is obviously a deathcore parody, and it gets a B. This album made me laugh, because one of the songs is about telling you to brush your teeth, and I don't know why I found that so weirdly appealing to me. I don't know, but yeah, it's a dumb album, but it knows it's dumb. Like, it knows what it wants to do. Not like Psycho Stick levels of dumb comedy, I mean, as much as I love Psycho Stick too, obviously, I fucking love Psycho Stick, but yeah, I wish I could have understood a bit better what was going on, because deathcore is, by its nature, difficult to decipher with what's going on. But, considering that there's a song about brushing teeth, there's, like, a lot of the songs seem to have the theme of, like, being healthy. Like, there's one about eating right. I think I think the first single was about the coronavirus as well. Sorry, no, the Copenhagen virus. I keep forgetting that. I think I can't really give it anything higher than a B, because, it's a bit too short in places, and at points it's like, it just feels a bit too silly, but I don't mind a bit too silly. So, yeah, I think a B. I think a B might be the best grade for it. B for best. Actually, no, the best grade is A+. B for the best effort that they could do. And props to Jared Alonji for giving us something also hilarious. Anyway, that about does it for the albums that I listened to in the month of April, where the world is just completely going to hell, but we'll be fine. I promise we'll be fine. And I'll see you all at the start of June to talk about all the albums I'll be listening to for May, including, a few albums that I'm putting aside, because, it's my show and I can do whatever the fuck I want, mate. All in all, April, once again, really great month. I'm just going to recommend the A+ albums. There's more albums, obviously, but, Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous, Hot Mulligan, You'll Be Fine, Red Declaration, and Then Shakes In the Mess We Made. Oh, and Milk Teeth with Milk Teeth as well. Really, really, really super duper enjoyable stuff. And I'll see you all, the next thing I do... Actually, no, the next thing I do will hopefully by tonight, or by the time you're watching this, Friday night, on May the 1st, will be the next pay-per-view for PBW, Heat of the Moment 2. It's a super stacked card. I'm really excited to stream it, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Especially the main event. I'm really glad I put that together, even though I'll miss one of them depending on what happens. But you'll find out for yourselves, as will I, because, I stream it and watch it as it goes, because I like reacting to it and seeing what will happen. So, then after that, the next actual video should be the Kitty episode of Backtracking, and well, there's going to be more PBW before then, but yeah, I'll see you for whatever the hell's next, basically. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. Bye. Bye.